Good morning, guys. How are we all doing? So Dan from Trading with Dan here. This is our Bitcoin morning update. So if you guys wouldn't mind smashing that like button, we shall go straight over to those Bitcoin charts. Yes, Bitcoin on the 4 hour. Bitcoin on the 4 hour. Yeah, as you can see, we did manage to actually break above that important level of resistance. So it is good that we now find ourselves out of this range. Obviously, if you're bullish, that's kind of what we want. I kind of expect sideways trading within a wider range until the point that we break out. And yeah, I mean, we just took it out in one pretty much go. If we just extend this this horizontal along, you can kind of see that this is basically the level that we're currently at. But obviously this isn't necessarily a massive resistance area. We would kind of expect more stiff resistance around this $58,500 level, and that is a point where the title of the videos will turn bullish. So yeah, we are gonna have to see what happens from here. Do we push up to this level in one go? Do we come back and backtest about $53,000 area as support, based on there before pushing onwards and upwards? Or sorry, still got my cold. Or do we actually come back down, break back below this level, come back and test some of these 50,000 or even say $47,000-$48,000 levels after what would look like a bit of a swing failure above the important horizontal, which wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing if we trade sideways back in here and then we do move back in the level. It just looks like we made a pretty aggressive move up. The bulls tried to obviously FOMO as above, and then we fall back into the zone. So everything to play for here. Obviously we got the Bitcoin ETF, which I personally think is what is driving a lot of the Bitcoin price action, because it's moving relative to traditional markets. It's moving up relative to traditional markets, up relative to Ethereum, up relative to other altcoins. It is basically doing its own thing, which then obviously suggests it's a Bitcoin specific thing. So what could that be? The ETF. Also to point out in the chat that the CME futures are trading in quite a large contango, which basically means that they're predicting higher prices in the future. So they're higher than spot. The futures prices are. So yeah, maybe the professionals know this ETF is coming. Maybe somebody knows something. I think I saw a few like major finance 1.0 guys saying, tweeting worse as effect, actually saying like Bitcoin knows something. So yeah, we shall see what happens. Will we get a big pump up and then a buy the rumor, sell the fact? Yeah, we shall have to see. But all in all, things are obviously looking good here. We are only a stone's throw realistically away from getting above 58,500, and pretty much so far as I see it, just going fully bullish. Well, we'll just go into a nice price discovery, probably take out the all-time highs pretty easily, and continue up towards 100,000. So yeah, things are looking good. But like I said, it wouldn't look untoward at all for us to drop back below this level and then trade some sideways within this range again. So we aren't fully out of the clear. I mean, as I have my level of around 48,500. It's like when we pretty much are in the clear. It's how I see it. We may or may not be at that point, but that's what I pretty much see as in the clear, and that isn't far away. So if we do go and have a look at that good old Ethereum, obviously hammered, couldn't keep up with this, hit the next level, important level below us, and currently bouncing off that. So we be trading some of that sideways to back down? Could Bitcoin have put in that sort of local top, and then could we be looking at a run in the altcoins? We shall have to see. But if we do look at the Ethereum Satoshi pairing, it isn't the most wrecked chart. The most wrecked chart would be this one, so far as altcoins are concerned. And I mean, obviously a big massive move up here, smash straight through this area, easing off at the moment. Maybe it was just a bit overran. Maybe we do put in a local higher and continue down. But I mean, if you do look at it, this doesn't look like the most it doesn't look like the most bearish chart, but yeah, I mean, we could have a pullback. We could then make a lower high, continue upwards. This is looking like it could do that. But do I think that will happen? Do I think Bitcoin is going to lead us up, and then altcoins are going to take the reins, and then the dominance is going to come down? Yeah, that is my view. Just based on that's how bull markets and cryptocurrency work. That is where that view finds its origins. The DXY had another push back up, currently easing off. Probably still, this level is probably still somewhat important for the short term. Obviously a little bounce off it here, but yeah, if we get back below it again after putting potentially a lower high, after attempting to make another move up, could signal some downside. Then obviously then we take this out, then I think we would be back resuming a medium term downtrend, but obviously that has not happened yet. So we shall have to see what does happen with that. But obviously if this does come down, I mean, it is relatively good for risk assets, although this has moved all the way up, whilst Bitcoin has obviously moved all the way up. So obviously bear that in mind. But that's what we said, Bitcoin's kind of doing its own thing relative to stocks, relative to the dollar, relative to other cryptocurrencies. So potentially ETF driven there. Stock markets though are doing their best to try and basically get back up again. This important horizontal resistance here, which we're looking to break through, get back into this zone. I think there will start to be a lot less fear, a lot more risk taken in the market, and we can potentially, probably, almost definitely, in my opinion, continue onwards and upwards to higher highs. Q4 pretty much some very respected financial analysts that I follow, probably like some of the most respected ones that I respect the most, basically, that I think are the most right most of the time, are expecting a sort of a mini reflation trade into the end of the year. Obviously a reflation trade been obviously what happened after the deflation into the pandemic dump. And then this is obviously a massive reflation trade, and yeah, they're expecting a mini reflation trade. Anything's mini compared to the reflation trade we've had into the end of the year, into EOY early next year. So yeah, that would really drag stocks up, really drag Bitcoin up, really drag the dollar down as well, actually. So yeah, I mean, they think that, so I know they do better research than I do. So that kind of has to be a default view of mine. So yeah, we shall see. It does tie into my view anyway, regardless of the fact that they're coming out saying that over the past week or so anyway. The only thing really to be careful of is that there is a lot of there isn't as much protection to the downside by professionals in equity markets at the moment. So that is when you can get moves down. So there is sort of a soft belly, a soft underside to equities, where they are at risk of a decent drawdown. But that's not to say it'll happen. There's just the risk of it there because the market isn't as positioned to cover for that as it was before. And we all know the simple dynamics of how markets go. When everyone doesn't expect something, that's when it happens, and when they expect it, that's when it doesn't happen. So the fact that there was a lot of downside hedging over the last few weeks, which has sort of eased off, then yeah, it could be though confused with just basically people taking off risk anyway, as in like major players taking off risk. Therefore they're not hedging that downside as much in the markets, and that could be skewing. They could be taking off their spot risk, in which case they take off their like hedging derivative risk, which then makes it look like there's less downside protection because they're not protecting against what they've taken off in spot. But we're getting a bit too much into the weeds there. Maybe we should just look at it with a more simplistic view. But anyway, let's have a look at those Bitcoin stochastics. The 4 hour did basically get us back up. Like we were looking at yesterday, managed to drag us above those resistance. So well done the 4 hour. Obviously putting in a bit of a top here, so we will get a bit of potential downward resistance from the 4-hour, 10-hour, similar potential gonna hold us sideways to down. 12 hours still catapulting upwards, but can't realistically get much higher, so that will top out. Daily topped out as well at a very high level. So those are the ones that, again, yesterday I was saying kind of tell me that we are looking for some sideways to down in the medium term. Obviously we did see that another stint up, but 2-day obviously looking absolutely grand here. 3-day looking good here as well. 5-day has turned back up from a high level, so that is also looking good. Weekly, I actually look, it's turning back up here as well, which is kind of what we were looking at, potentially holding up here like that. Bi-weekly moving up nicely, and obviously monthly got a nice little kink in it again, so maybe that can turn up. So I mean, these stochastics are certainly giving us a good shot of 100k BTC. But the median time frames, yeah, at some point we have moved up in pretty straight up fashion, so we have got to expect a pullback of some sorts, or even just a minimum a sideways consolidation before maybe another leg up, and then we need to see a big pullback of sorts. But yeah, so that is it, guys. Remember, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Always do your own research, and I shall speak to you guys soon.